read the headlines of the Sunday Times and felt a very deep sense of outrage and, in fact, insult, I must be honest. If you think about the fact that the ANC, which claims to be a national party representing all South Africans, has now taken a stand which is deeply insulting to a very important community of people in South Africa, the Jewish community. The Jewish community of South Africa has, for 175 years, made a major contribution to this country in all spheres of human endeavor. And so it is deeply insulting and hurtful for the ANC to come out and target the state of Israel. And let me explain to you why that is such a deep insult to the Jewish community of South Africa. And I'll be very honest and very frank with you. We love South Africa, but we also love Israel. Israel is part of Jewish identity. Abraham and Sarah, our forefather and mother, walked on the land of Israel almost 4,000 years ago. They are the founding father and mother of the Jewish people. And for almost 4,000 years, Jews have had a deep connection to the Holy Land of Israel, and I'll say it, the holy city of Jerusalem, that we refer to in our prayers. 3 times a day, we refer to the city of Jerusalem. We mention the city of Jerusalem in our grace after meals. We mention and pray for the rebuilding of the city of Jerusalem at every wedding and every funeral. To be a Jew is to be deeply connected to Israel and Jerusalem. That is very much part of our identity. And we love South Africa, and we are loyal and committed South African citizens, but we also love Israel. And when the ANC targets with an obsession the state of Israel more than any other country in the world, that is deeply insulting to a very important part of South African society. And I speak not only on behalf of South African Jews, I speak on behalf also of millions of Christians in this country who also love and feel connected to the Holy Land because of their religious heritage. And the ANC's obsession with the state of Israel is insulting, and I call it an obsession because here they are prepared and proposing to change the citizenship rules of South Africa, denying dual citizenship to citizens throughout this country because they're obsessed with the state of Israel. The supposed justification for this insult is the fact that they accuse the state of Israel of being an apartheid state. I would like to take this opportunity to state unequivocally, to accuse Israel of apartheid is a lie and a defamation of the Jewish state, and it is an insult to the real victims of the true apartheid. Because if everything is apartheid, then nothing is apartheid. And the state of Israel is not. Within the borders of the state of Israel, every citizen, Arab, Jew, no matter what your religion, Christians, Muslims, Jews, every single human being has full political and civil rights. Arabs vote together with Jews in the elections that elect representatives to the Knesset, to the Israeli parliament. They serve in the Israeli judiciary. In fact, the judge who sentenced President Katsav, the president of the state of Israel, the judge who convicted and sentenced him was an Arab judge. Can you imagine that happening in apartheid South Africa? It's unthinkable. It's an absurd and outrageous allegation that has no basis in fact. What is happening is that in the areas of the West Bank and Gaza, there is a border dispute. A Palestinian state never existed in the West Bank and Gaza. These territories were captured from Jordan and from Egypt, respectively, and for decades, the international community, together with Israel and the Palestinian leadership, have been trying to find a solution through negotiations to the status of these territories. And the only solution to that conflict is a negotiated settlement, but you cannot make peace on your own. We learned that from our beloved Madiba. President Nelson Mandela sat for decades in prison because he had no negotiating partner on the other side. The ANC, under Madiba's leadership, turned to the armed struggle because there was no one on the other side to negotiate with. Because of the racism of the National Party, there was no one that the ANC could broker a peace settlement to bring South Africa to prosperity and peace. When eventually a negotiating partner emerged in the form of President F.W. de Klerk, then there was peace immediately because the ANC had been waiting for it for a long time. And that is what Prime Minister Golda Meir said to Sadat when he came to make peace with Israel. She said to him, "We've been waiting for you for a long time." Whenever a credible negotiating partner has emerged from the Arab world, Israel has made peace and given up huge areas of territory in order to make peace and taken great risks for its own security in order to make peace. And so to accuse the state of Israel of being like apartheid South Africa is a lie, but I'll tell you what else, it's a dangerous lie. Because in making this false and defamatory accusation, the ANC, together with the others who do so, are in fact endangering the forces of peace in the Middle East, because there are only two paths that lie ahead of this conflict. On the one hand, there is the possibility of a negotiated settlement between Israelis and Palestinians. And on the other hand, there are the forces of religious extremism that seek to engulf the entire region in flames, in murder and mayhem. And by the ANC obsessively and compulsively targeting Israel and Israel alone, it is playing into the hands of the extremists. It is supporting the forces of violent religious extremism in the Middle East, forces which are endangering our own African continent. Because make no mistake, there is no difference in the ideology of Hamas or Boko Haram or Al-Shabaab. And by strengthening the forces of extremism in the Middle East, the ANC is in fact strengthening those very same forces that endanger our continent and indeed endanger the world. So what should the ANC be doing now? What the ANC really needs to do is to revive the legacy of peacemaking, the legacy of O.R. Tambo, the legacy of Nelson Mandela, great men who saw the power of peace and a negotiated settlement. That is where the ANC needs to put its efforts. Instead of targeting Israel in this dishonest and unfair and insulting fashion, what it really should be doing is working on achieving peace in the region, persuading Hamas to recognize the state of Israel to exist, persuading the Palestinian Authority to engage in honest, good faith negotiations. That is the way forward, a dream of peace. And so I would like to, in the name of all peace-loving, decent people in South Africa and indeed around the world, call upon the ANC to change course, become a force for peace, to bring everybody together, to find a negotiated settlement so that all human beings can live in freedom and dignity and respect.